Hey everyone, today we're going to be talking about inbound marketing. We put together a little presentation. If you guys have any questions, just ask them. I'm happy to answer them while we're talking. This is going to be kind of inbound marketing, like an intro to it. I'm going to try to make it pertinent specifically to an orthodontic practice. And let's get going. So what is inbound marketing? Just in case you aren't sure, it's a methodology that attracts customers by creating valuable content. That valuable content is a critical piece, and experiences to them. Inbound marketing forms connections that they're looking for and solves problems. So there's a lot in that statement. It's solving problems, it's forming connections, we're creating valuable content, and we're attracting customers to our brand, to our practice, to the business. So that's inbound marketing. It helps to understand it compared to outbound marketing. So this little graphic should help you understand that. So when we're doing inbound marketing, we're attracting people to our office, to our brand, to our message. Outbound marketing is literally like the megaphone. We're sending a message out to people. So the most common example of this is just advertising in general. So if you have a billboard on the highway, you're pushing your message out to everyone who drives past that billboard. In that instance, it's not very well targeted except geographically. Facebook advertising, Google advertising, all the same thing. Facebook's good for outbound because it's very targeted at the very least. Google's very good for outbound because people hopefully are showing some intent. If you're doing search ads, they're actually looking for the solution. So outbound marketing, if you haven't guessed, also means you're paying for this message to be pushed to the audience. You're always paying for your message to be seen by as many eyeballs as possible, or heard by as many ears as possible, or touched by as many people as possible. You're always paying for that outbound message. That's the value that they're offering, and that's why it costs. So digital marketing for outbound is usually a little cheaper than traditional. It's usually a lot cheaper, actually, if you have been shopping for billboards lately, or an ad in a print magazine. It's a lot easier to measure, which is why we usually focus on that when we're doing outbound. But the good thing about inbound is that as you create content for your website, on your social media, et cetera, you're building the value of those platforms, and you're creating a magnet that is slowly getting stronger and stronger and stronger. So as you put better content on your site and more content, and you answer more questions, you're making a magnet that's going to attract people forever. It doesn't mean you can do it and then stop. You always want to keep creating it. Some content isn't evergreen, meaning it's not always going to be relevant, so you have to make new content. But content in general is going to make your site, your website, and your brand stronger, and it's going to help your customer more. So that's one of the biggest advantages to inbound marketing versus outbound. For outbound, you always have to pay that bill every single month, otherwise your message stops being pushed to your audience. Inbound marketing is pulling people to you, and it's going to have a cumulative effect. So your efforts are going to keep adding on top of each other, and you're going to keep getting a stronger and stronger magnet to your customers. It's also a lot less intrusive, if you haven't guessed that. So when you're pushing a message, that's why they use a megaphone here. Some people don't want to hear your message, so it doesn't actually help your brand perception. It may hurt it if you're pushing a bad message, of course. That's also why when we talked about branding and knowing your differentiators and knowing your culture, et cetera, you want to make sure your message is very tailored to who you are and it's going to the right audience. When you have inbound marketing, it's specifically made to attract a certain type of person that you're trying to attract. So they're only going to be connected to your brand. There's only going to be that touch point experience when they're looking for that. They're looking for that experience. They're looking for that solution. So they're going to welcome the message. You don't have any worry, and for the most part, about someone seeing your brand and the message and being turned off by it because you've been pushing it to them and they weren't really in the mood to hear about it or see about it. So that is one of the bigger advantages to inbound marketing as well. So we're going to show a lot of HubSpot stuff because HubSpot is pretty much the king of inbound marketing. They have a conference every year. We've gone once. We're probably going to go next year or this year, assuming everything calms down and we can have events again. And it's a great experience. You learn a ton. And so I usually like to reference them a lot because they have so much. Since they're so into inbound marketing, they have just a crazy amount of content related to inbound marketing, right? Okay, so let's talk about creating an inbound marketing campaign. So if you've been watching any of the videos, you've met Jane. These are her pieces of information that describe who she is. So just to recap really quickly, a buyer persona isn't just demographic info. It's also challenges, pain points, goals in life, values, where they get their information. The first step in any campaign, inbound or outbound, by the way, is to decide who we're sending this message to. Who are we trying to attract with the content that we're creating, right? The best way to do that is to create a buyer persona. Whether you're using it from data or just your experience with your patients, just write it down so you have some sort of target, you have some sort of focus for the campaign, because these pieces of information are going to be the little hints that help you when you're deciding what kind of content am I making? What kind of strategy makes sense for us? What platforms should we be using to attract this particular type of buyer persona? So step one is always get that buyer persona. So I strongly encourage you to get this done if you haven't. Whether you're going to hire a company like mine or you're going to do it in-house, now is a great time to put 3 of those buyer personas together. They don't have to be perfect. Just the exercise of going through it is going to help you focus your efforts when you're trying to grow the practice. So step one is create that buyer persona. Make a decision on who you're trying to attract to your practice. All right, step 2, SEO. I'm going to go over the highlights of the SEO presentation that we did. If you want to see the whole thing, just go to Ortho Sales Engine /Ortho Thrive, and you can see it. We went through Search Engine Optimization 101, but I'll just go through the highlights here just so that you understand them in case you haven't seen it. And the reason search engine optimization is an inbound marketing practice is because we're creating value on the site. We're making it so when people are searching for a solution to their problem, they find you. And that's what organic traffic is. That's what search engine optimization is. We're optimizing your website so when people are looking for your solution and looking for your service, they see your practice, your name, and they give you a shot. So first step, get into your customer's head. So when I say this, I'm talking about not using lingo for your practice, not thinking about your practice from your point of view as the doctor or the coordinator. You need to look through the eyes of your potential patient. What do they care about? What are the kind of phrases they're going to use when they're typing a Google search or looking for solutions? Just try to look at everything through their eyes. Next, I want you to make sure you understand what intent is. So when I am searching for the solution to any problem, and I'm going into Google and I'm typing whatever the keyword is, usually I type questions all the time because it's really geared that way. I have a certain intention. So when I type this, I intend to find certain results because I'm looking for a solution for the problem. So you need to think about your website and your content through the eyes of intent. Make sure that when you are putting keywords in your website and you're writing text for your website and you're making a certain page in your website, you want to make sure what you're trying, the type of people you're trying to attract to it are looking for exactly for the solution that makes sense on the site. You want to make sure the intention matches the content on that page. So if you are writing a page about how much Invisalign costs, make sure you address how much Invisalign costs. If you do not talk about that and you title the page how much Invisalign costs and you dance around it, you're going to hurt your brand because people are going to feel like you're not authentic. And they're probably just going to bounce off the page anyway. So you either hurt your brand or you just lost the person forever. Both are bad situations. You want to make sure whatever you want the page to be about, it is actually reflected in all the little SEO meta tags and titles and text on the page so that Google, you're going to help Google match that intent of the searcher with your page. If you look through if you take intent into account, it's really going to help your page rank, and it's going to help the user experience and make sure your brand perception isn't hurt. All right, so next, do keyword research using Google and Ubersuggest. This alone could just be a presentation by itself. So when I say Google, I literally mean going into the Google search bar and start typing, and use that, let autocorrect show you Google keyword phrases. You can see more about that in the other presentation. You can also use the keyword planner tool in Google Ads. That'll help give you ideas for keywords. And then Ubersuggest is Neil Patel's project. That is a great free source. Even the paid version is very inexpensive. And you can get a ton of keyword ideas and do a lot of solid keyword research using that tool. All of these are free tools that you can use that I think are sufficient for most orthodontists. And when you get into some advanced SEO, you're usually going to hire someone anyway to use those more complex tools. And then I suggest you focus on long tail keywords. When I say that, these are keyword phrases that have 3 or more words in them. One reason is, when the longer the keyword phrase, that generally the higher the intent of the searcher. If you're using a sentence for your keyword phrase, you're not just looking for a shirt, you're looking for a red shirt, you're looking for a red shirt that has monster trucks on it. You see what I'm saying? Is the more words that are on there, the more focused the intent of the searcher is. So if you're trying to optimize your page for a longer keyword phrase, it's going to more likely match the intent of the searcher. Also, it's a lot easier to rank for those pages. If we just want to rank for Invisalign in the whole world, you have a long, hard road ahead of you. You need to think of longer tail keywords so that Invisalign page on your website is much more likely to rank for your local market. Also, is something you need to consider. Only certain people are going to drive to your practice. But I would focus on long tail keywords, 3 or more keyword phrases. It's easier, it ranks better, they're cheaper when you do Google ads to buy traffic to them. That generally should be your focus, especially in the beginning. And then meta tags for this site. We can't go too much into this, but these are the meta titles, meta descriptions. Just make sure all of your pages have meta titles, meta descriptions, and metadata that makes sense for that page. It uses the keyword phrase, the keywords in it, but in a natural way. We're writing for people. And make sure all of your pages have unique meta tags and meta titles. Don't just copy and paste the same one in all of the pages. And if someone else is doing this for you, ask them to show you what all the meta tags and meta descriptions and alt tags, etc., are for your pages. They should probably have this in an Excel document somewhere. Or at the very least, they can walk it through with you so they can show you. Because you just want to make sure that someone didn't get lazy and just do it the easy way, because that's going to really hurt you. Don't forget, we're writing for people, not robots. It gets really easy when you're going through all this and try to load up keywords on a page or just try to play the game. Google is smart. They've been doing this for many years. It's been decades now. They know when people are trying to cheat, and they'll penalize you for it. Not to mention, when people see this, it looks totally inauthentic and it looks fake. It might even look like you don't know how to speak correct English, which would be a terrible thing to let people perceive about your brand. So just make sure when you're doing this, don't ever forget we're really just writing for people. That is the most important thing to consider. Just make it natural language that makes sense when anyone's reading it, and it just happens to be optimized for a keyword phrase. And then create internal links that make sense. An internal link is when one page links to another page. For instance, if you have a blog about Invisalign, link that blog page to the Invisalign page. If you have a blog about custom braces, link that blog to your custom braces page, etc. The more internal links you have that are done in a natural way, the more it helps Google understand what your website's really about. All those connections help the algorithm understand what certain pages are about. And the more links you have to a certain page, which we'll talk about later, pillar pages, the more it reinforces to Google that that page is about that specific subject. And then get valuable backlinks. Backlinks are when someone else's site links back to your site. So when I say valuable, I mean try to get links from a website that has a high page domain value, a high search engine value, a high ranking, high value to your customers, because the more valuable that site is, when it links to your site, it's sort of like a vote. It's like a stronger vote to Google that your site is credible and it's about whatever their content was that was linking to you. So it's really going to help your domain authority in general and help your search engine ranking. So just reach out to people. There's several ways to do this. You can look at that one-on-one presentation on a few ways to get backlinks. But a lot of them are just natural, connecting to someone and saying, hey, would you mind linking to my site? I saw that you had some great content, or I wrote some great content. Would you mind putting it on your site and linking to mine? I think it relates to what you just talked about, etc. And then optimize your YouTube channel. If you have a YouTube channel, you can optimize the thumbnails, you can optimize the tags, you can optimize the page, the file name when you're uploading new videos. A lot of this is in that original presentation, but you can optimize YouTube. And YouTube is, by the way, the second largest search engine in the world. There's so many videos being uploaded every day. It's worth optimizing that channel because people will find your videos sometimes before they ever find your website because they're on YouTube. And then optimize for voice. That's something that you should think about. We're in 2020. Voice is only going to get more and more important. When I say voice, I mean your Alexa, your Google Hub, your phone. We're talking to devices now and asking questions and expecting results. So there's different ways to optimize your website for voice. One is write blogs that are just answering questions, that are naturally answering a question someone is going to ask, and help Google understand that if someone asks this question, this blog gives the answer. So it's more likely to return that blog. There's also some schema markup that you can do. You can Google that term. If you have a WordPress site, it's not too hard to do that, but generally you're going to hire someone to work on that for you. But just think about optimizing for voice, because all of us are just using machines by just asking questions and talking to them more and more every single day. So it's time to at least put that on the horizon when you're thinking about what to do with your website. All right, enough about SEO. We can go on with that forever if we want. But step 3 is create a content strategy. So we'll talk about some basic stuff here. So when you're creating a content strategy, you have to know what content you're creating, why you're creating it, what what solutions, problems that you're solving with that content, how you're arranging the content, how you're delivering the content. There has to be some sort of strategy so we're not just throwing content out there all over the place and it's not working together to help you reach a goal. So just as a refresher, we really need to make sure we understand what buyer personas are before we start developing a content strategy. Excuse me, let's understand the buyer's journey. So this is the journey they're taking from, I don't know what I need, to I'm choosing a service provider. So the awareness stage is when they're doing the educational research because they know they have a problem, but they're researching what the problem is and potential solutions for it. So this is, they call this top of the funnel. People are just right at the top. They're just starting to consider actually solving this issue. You know, they don't have the smile they want, so they're looking for solutions to getting the smile they want. So they're doing that initial research. They're just becoming aware of the problem and they want to fix it. Consideration is doing the research to find all the different possible solutions to the problem. They know they're given a clear name to their problem or the opportunity, and they're really doing that research to decide, well, not decide, they're doing their research to find out all the possible solutions. And during the decision stage, they know what solutions are out there. They know which ones they generally want to choose. Now they have to decide on who is going to be the problem solver. Who are they going to use to solve this problem for them? So they're ready to buy. They're just doing the research to decide who are they going to spend their money with, right? So these are the basic buyer journey stages. And you need to be aware of these because when we're creating content, we have to create content for each stage, at least loosely, because we want to make sure people find our content as they're going through this buyer's journey. So here's Jane, if you remember her. So let's talk about, just to give you an example of a basic content strategy, how you would go about it. So first, we're going to start with the awareness stage for her. Let's just think of a couple of ideas of what we could do to kind of build awareness of the practice, make Jane aware of our practice. So we could do fun social media posts so she could find us on social media. We could be talking about braces or Invisalign, and just do things that are kind of going to go viral, that are going to be shared by a lot of people. These are, this could be you guys dancing. This could be just loosely talking about your product a little bit, but something that's really going to just catch the eyes of a lot of people and make them aware of your brand. You don't necessarily have to start teaching yet, though you could. If it's really good. This could be an infographic, could be a podcast, could be any type of content that's really going to get a lot of people's attention to make them aware that you exist. Now, blog posts, you're going to see this in all of these, but you're going to write blog posts specifically to address beginning awareness. Like, for instance, you could do a blog post just talking about what braces or Invisalign are. That might be between awareness and consideration, but you want to just do things that when people are just really starting that journey, you're going to have content that it makes sense for them. You could do editorial content. Maybe you're sending out a press release. You guys did a great community service project. You already did the project. How many times have you done this, but then you didn't do anything with that information? You didn't share it with your community. Those are very powerful ways to get a lot of people's eyes on your brand for the first time, or maybe the third or fourth time, to get them closer to actually scheduling an appointment with you. Always share those wins with your community if you can, because they're valuable and they say a lot about you and your practice. And you could do ebooks as well. Anything you could start teaching a little bit, a little downloadable to help them down that journey. They're really just learning right now. There's a ton of different ways to help in this awareness stage. So next, once she starts considering, she's looking for these different solutions. She knows what she wants to do. So you could do a podcast and just have a Invisalign or orthodontist podcast. A lot of you, there's not a lot of people doing this right now, so it would actually be like super valuable if you did it, because it doesn't have a ton of competition. You gain a lot of awareness, of course, of your brand, but you could also start being looked upon as the expert in your field. And a lot of people love podcasts nowadays because they can do it while they're doing something else. They're all so busy just listening to something. There's another way to get information while you're busy. And a lot of you probably subscribe to podcasts. And blog posts again, but you're going to do blog posts. Now you're talking specifically about your solutions and going a little bit more in depth of each of your solutions. So we're teaching more about Invisalign, more about braces, more about the orthodontic industry in general, more about what your customer experience is. We're giving them more information so that they're getting closer to that decision stage and considering you. And then social media posts are going to change. You could talk, this could be infographics. This could just be teaching people about the parts of braces. The type of social media posts you're making should have a specific intent, awareness, consideration, or the decision stage. This is the most important one, of course, because these people are ready to make a decision. They know that they want braces or Invisalign or whatever it is they choose. And now they just need to choose who the service provider is going to be. So you definitely want to make content for this. But if you didn't get them in the first two, you're going to get a lot less people in that decision phase. But once they are ready, this is when testimonials can be very powerful. That's going to get someone over the fence and be ready to choose you. And I say video testimonials. Of course, you want testimonials in general. But video testimonials, in my opinion, are going to be some of the strongest. Now, Google reviews are also very strong for social proof. It's not in the bucket of inbound necessarily. But video testimonials are a great way to really show people that other people are happy with you, other people trust you. And that is a lot more authoritative than just a text review that you wrote on your website, because they don't necessarily know for sure that that's real, right? A video, unless you've hired a bunch of actors, which is extremely unlikely, they're going to trust those video testimonials. And the nice thing about those is you can do those on your phone. You don't have to hire a videographer to do video testimonials. Now you can, and you can batch them, and I totally would recommend that if you're also doing other video projects. But it's okay to do video testimonials on your phone. Just get a tripod, mount your phone, and do the video testimonial. Have a nice little background with some decent lighting, and you can just start posting those to your website. I think that's totally acceptable. Case studies, obviously, you're showing the results of your work. That's also going to help people get over the fence. They're going to feel more confident. And we've seen those smile galleries on your different sites. But make that really appealing and fun. You know, don't just show pictures of people's mouths. Show happy customers, and what you can talk about what you did for them and before and afters. But make it a page that people are going to spend a little bit of time on. So just don't do it as an afterthought. I see a lot of orthodontic sites that really just, it was like a smile gallery. They kind of just plop some things on there, and you're not really going to go through that very long. I would consider taking this page a little more seriously than what I've seen. And then blog posts, of course, we're going to just be becoming more of a resource. We're going to get more in depth with answers. We're going to share wins, of course. Always using blog posts throughout this journey, I think, is very valuable. And this is when a brochure, someone might come to the office or pick it up somewhere else. You know, when they're ready for that to make that decision, a brochure actually can come into play during this time. So these are just some examples. You can look. This is all over the internet to give you ideas, but I wanted to show you how you can segment different pieces of content for these different steps in the buyer's journey. This is going to help you with that content strategy. Sometimes it's hard to think of blog ideas, and HubSpot has this little tool where you just enter any noun in there and it'll give you ideas for blogs. I put the link in there. It's just HubSpot blog topic generator. You can unlock more by just putting your information in there. But if you're just totally stuck, this is a good way to come up with some ideas of what your blog, your podcast, your ebook, etc. could be about. It's going to give you content ideas that might really work well for you. Next, write down all your patient questions. This is probably one of the most powerful ways to think of blog topics, podcast ideas, web pages that you should put on your site that you didn't really think about. When people ask you questions, write them down. You could also put this in lead nurturing campaigns. Those answers to those questions are going to go all throughout your content, because essentially that's one of the main strategies to attracting people to your brand, is being the person, being the doctor, being the practice, the brand that answers all the questions of your potential patient. If you're the resource, you're the expert, you're the one that's helped them through this whole process, they're going to trust you way more even before they've met you in person. So start writing down all of those questions. We've done this several times with our clients, and you'd be very surprised with the results. They've given us ideas that we hadn't even thought of once we got their questions, because it's not always the same for every doctor. It changes based off what kind of patients they have, the income around them, geographically where are they located, their personality. Just start writing down all these questions, because that's just going to give you a ton of ideas of content you could be using all over. And I would suggest right now that you embrace video. A lot of people are super hesitant to do video, but this is how people want to connect digitally. We're doing it right now. You guys have never met me in person, but right now, with the exception of virtual reality, this is the closest you're going to come to meeting me, unless you happen to be in Charleston or we meet each other at a conference. So just think of the power of that. If you just want to get started in it, do something simple like Soapbox. Look that up, Soapbox. That's just a free extension by Wistia, and you can just start sending video emails. That's what Soapbox does. You just record a little video, send a little message, send it in an email. That is super powerful. It saves time for one, and it's a much deeper connection. But when you're first starting video, you could do something like Soapbox for emails just to get comfortable. And don't think you have to hire a videographer to get started on this, because on social media, those are not professional videos. That is a perfect place to start playing with the video, with video creation. And phones nowadays take great video. You all know that. They're just ridiculous. And you can get a little kit that uses your phone, a little lighting kit, a little kit to help you with sound. You can get all of this stuff on Amazon. And just for maybe a couple $100, you can really up the quality of those videos to the point that you feel comfortable putting them on your website. People just want to connect with a person that they can see. They want to see that body language. Some people just don't want to read nowadays. There's a reason that Facebook and all these other social media channels are pushing video. There's a reason that TikTok is blowing up so much. It's only video. Facebook is probably wishing they would have figured that out, because Facebook is trying to push people to video, but people don't want to do video, so they're forced to not have a lot of video content as much as they want on their channel. But they know that the data doesn't lie. Video is king when it comes to content. So just get started down this road if you haven't already. And to me, the more content, the better. If you don't like it, just get rid of it. But there's generally something that you can share that people are going to want to see, and that's going to help them down that buyer's journey. So definitely think about embracing video in 2020 and make that part of your marketing strategy. And then make personal connections with the audience. And when I'm saying this, I'm giving an example. Little Dr. Milner's post, she just had her staff show their pets and dressed up as costumes. And you can see she actually got people commenting with their pets. This is a great way to be interactive. They love their pets over at Milner Orthodontics, so they post about this a lot. We have various things because they know it connects. But whether you're just talking, you're doing something personal from the doctor's home, you're sharing recipes from the staff, you want to mimic one-on-one real-life interactions as much as you can digitally. That's really what people are craving, especially right now, because we're all sitting stuck in our homes, right? This would be especially effective right now. Connect with actual people. Don't keep all of your social media posts as cookie cutter posts or posts that are using all stock photography. Those have their value, and I definitely think you should do that. Good photography makes a huge difference. But don't just do that and not do anything that's authentic and directly connected to the doctor, to the staff, to the culture of the practice. You know, and you've seen it over and over again. Those are the posts that get the most engagement. Same thing when you're doing email marketing. Same thing when you're doing content in general. People want to connect with other people. That's what they're craving. So that should be a big part of your content strategy. So next step, I'd like to address calls to action. So a call to action is generally a button. It can be an image. It's a place that asks someone to do something on their website, just like this little image is showing. You could ask us to contact. You want to learn more, you can download something, subscribe to our newsletter. You want these calls to action to be all over your website, especially when you create content. When you're creating valuable content, don't just give away the content and then after they're done reading the content or hearing or listening to it, there's nothing for the person to do. That the goal of creating the content is to get them to interact with you more. So that's a good way to start with something great, and then you can ask for them to schedule an appointment. But I would suggest you have other ways for them to interact with you as well. Maybe they can chat with you. Maybe there's another blog that's very related to this. Maybe they read this blog, but you have a good podcast related to this. Get them to start going down that rabbit hole with you to create that relationship, to make that relationship stronger and stronger and stronger as they connect with your content. But calls to action are generally that moment when just traffic on people and strangers coming to your brand turn into leads, because we want to capture that information somehow so that we can connect with them. We can call them up. We can email them. We can segment them into an audience and send them very personalized content. Make sure that you look through your website and your content and you strategically have put calls to action where they should be, not all over the place in an annoying way, of course. You've definitely seen that. Don't do that. But don't make it completely absent of calls to action and the only one is to schedule an appointment or call you. There's a lot of other calls to action that are going to help people down that buyer's journey and get you closer to feeling comfortable to schedule the appointment with you if they aren't ready. And then we want to talk about pillar pages. This is an SEO strategy, but it's also a website user experience strategy. So pillar pages are, let's use an Invisalign page as an example. That page should address everything, every topic that you're going to discuss about Invisalign in the website. So it'll be a long page with a lot of different topics in it, but you're not going to go in depth with any of them. You're just going to address them, but all of them will be addressed in that page. So in this example, the round circles are, and this is actually how HubSpot does their blog. The round circles are the pillar pages, the main top area of content. And then everything else is, they call it cluster content. This can be blogs. And remember, we talked about internal linking. These are blogs that link to that page. These are subcategories of Invisalign that link back to that page. These could be social media posts that link back to that page, ebooks that link back to that page. If you have a ton of other content and pages that are linking back to that pillar page, that's telling Google this pillar page is very important. Look at all this supporting content about this specific subject that's linking back to this pillar page. And then those pillar pages link back to your main domain name. That's the hierarchy you want to have in your website when you're looking at link strategy. And this is something I would definitely ask. If you have someone managing your website, ask if they've done this. And you can see it just by kind of navigating through the site. But make sure that your pages are linked this way, because it's going to make a big difference on the SEO strength of your site, the user experience, and it's going to help you know where to put different pieces of content and where to send them. It's going to help you with your content strategy in general. Because if you have maybe 30 pieces of content to Invisalign and you only have 3 other pages linking to your braces page, but you do 50% of braces and 50% of Invisalign, you know what content you should be doing over the next few months. You want to work on them so that they're all sort of even. You're not just focusing on one thing if that's not what you want to focus on. You want to keep building the strength of all of your pillar pages equally. So that's really going to help you when you're building the editorial calendar, deciding what content to produce when and where it should go. So look at pillar pages. HubSpot's page, you can see /marketing/what is a pillar page, does a great job of explaining what a pillar page is and how to use it. And then landing pages. So landing pages are not only used in online and advertising, which is generally what you're using them for, because you're sending traffic to that page, but you can also use it in inbound marketing because an organic social media post could point to it. You can have calls to action, like an ebook or an infographic call to action on other pages on your site or in an email, and they would link to it. So you're always sending traffic one way or the other, visits to that page. And when you're building when you're building landing pages, and there's a ton of research. Neil Patel does a great job of explaining how to make a great landing page. But just let me give you a few tips. When you're building a landing page, there should only be like one thing that they can do on the page. Our page, actually, if you're very strict about this, is breaking the rule because it's allowing you to navigate to other pages, but we like to keep it that way so people don't get stuck on it. But when you're spending a lot of traffic to it, some people say don't do that. Just make it so the only thing they can possibly do is download, for instance, this free ROI calculator. You want the page to have a very specific result. So you want them to look at it, and within a couple seconds, they know what it's about, and they know what they're going to get. Even the button says, get the calculator. I know what's going to happen when I click on this button. I'm getting the ROI calculator. And you want to generally build them in sort of a V at the end so that your eye is drawn down to what is supposed to happen. This page works very well when it's on a mobile device because you just have the image and the form and the button. you want them to only be able to do one thing on a pillar page for the most part, and you want to be very obvious about what it's about, because landing pages are built because they convert better. When I say conversion, that means traffic going to them has a higher percentage chance of turning into someone who actually becomes a lead, meaning they fill out the information and you get their contact information, and then we can do something with that contact information. So landing pages are an important part of inbound marketing because they're used in a lot of these campaigns. And then lead nurturing, when we're doing lead nurturing, we're talking about email communication to a segmented audience. So let's say someone comes to your site and they download an infographic about all the parts of braces. We know that person is someone who's interested in braces, and we have their contact information, right? So now there should be a series of communication that goes to them via email at the very least. You could also send ads to them for outbound marketing that talk about braces. Because if they've downloaded something about the parts of braces, we know that they're in that beginning awareness consideration area stage where they're just learning about braces. So content we're sending them should teach them about braces, and then kind of lead them down that buyer's journey. Then we start with just teaching them about braces. Then we're going to talk about the office environment in the first visit. Then maybe later on, we're going to talk about promotions if you come to the office. You need to create lead nurturing communications that fit that segmented audience and get them closer and kind of bring them slowly down that buyer's journey without feeling like we're pulling them or pushing them or being too salesy, so that they will become a new start. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to take forever for them to become a start. They could do it just from the first email, but you don't want to send them something that is a mismatch of where they are at in that buyer's journey. And the great thing about lead nurturing is that you build it once and then you just maintain it. You don't have to keep sending, someone doesn't have to keep clicking the button to send these emails. This should all be automated, whether you're using a really great platform like HubSpot or using MailChimp, which is also a good platform to use that does some automated emails. If you do this right, these drip campaigns can really help increase the amount of people that will convert into starts, and it will do it automatically for you, and it'll build that relationship between the potential patient and your practice. And just some stats here. It helps you determine whether leads are legitimate automatically if you don't want to call every single lead. If you're getting like hundreds of leads a month and you don't want to call them, or you don't have the bandwidth, you don't want to hire someone to do so, you can use lead nurturing to kind of find out who's really a qualified lead. They get a much higher open rate than regular, like a newsletter email, which I definitely recommend you do, by the way. That's another great way to connect with everyone. But lead nurturing emails are generally going to have a better open rate because the intent is matched by what the person was doing. So they got that infographic and they're getting an email related to learning about braces. That's going to kind of pique someone's interest a lot more because it's more personalized to them, right? And it just helps you respond quicker, especially if you aren't able to get in touch with someone within that 10-minute time frame that you really should be following up with the leads, if at all possible. At least the brand is communicating with someone immediately in real time. So lead nurturing is a critical part to really making sure that inbound marketing campaign is really working. And then a content management system. So just in case you're wondering what that is, it's a CMS, they call it CMS software. It's a way to edit, organize, publish content. WordPress is the most popular. It's the one that we like. And I thought I would just give you an example of when it's done well, what I consider well. So let's show you. This is our site. If you guys have been going on to the Ortho Thrive site, I just want to give you an idea of if you use WordPress and you use the right plugins, then you can really make it easy. So this is all I need to do to update this page. You just go into your editor and there you go. If I want to change this video, I'm just clicking on the video and I'm putting a different Vimeo link there. if I want to change what's written here, I just click this and change this text editor. Everything on this page is built in little modules, and that's all you need to do. So I want to encourage you to build your site in a way that it's easy to make changes. Now, you might be saying, well, I don't make changes to my website, so why do I need that? Let me tell you, even if someone else is making the changes to your website, if they have to spend more time than necessary to make simple changes, they're going to charge you more money because time is money. If you're working with a company that doesn't let you make changes to your website yourself, think about why they're doing that. It's because they want you to call them for every little change that they make, so they make more money. We don't do that. When people ask us to make changes, half the time, if it takes 5 minutes or less, I don't even charge them because it's just silly. But you should have control over your own content. And if you're running a good inbound marketing campaign, you're really doing this well, you need to be changing content on your site all of the time. So if it's expensive for you to do it, you're going to be hesitant to really do it properly because you're going to be thinking about how much it's going to cost to build that new landing page, for instance. It needs to be affordable and easy for you to do so because it's so critical to having a good inbound campaign. So really think about your CMS. How do you put content out there in the world? How easy is it? Can you do it if you need to? And is it just too much of an obstacle to do it? It should be simple. These days, and it's 2020, this stuff, unless you're doing some really complicated e-commerce site, if you got a lot going on, making easy changes to a website, I'm not talking about starting from scratch or building a whole website. When you're making simple things like this, these are things that should not break the bank. These are not a big deal anymore if the website is built this way. So I suggest you have a really good content management system. And then measure your success. This really is the final thing I want to talk about. If you are doing inbound marketing and outbound marketing, make sure you're measuring what you're doing and seeing that it's actually working. This is an example of a screenshot of a deck that we talk about with our clients every month. So for instance, we're looking at Google Analytics. A lot of the data should be in Google Analytics. I'm assuming you have that set up. If you don't, get that done as soon as possible because that data is just so valuable. Look at who's coming to your site, how many people are coming to your site, where are they coming from? Are you increasingly getting more traffic over time? Is it stagnant? Is it going up? Is it going down? Because these are going to initiate actions you need to take. So I like trending the data. We show clients, we pull data from call tracking. So you can find out if someone called a number on your website, we know if they came from an organic source, like just Google organic, it came from a paid ad, it came from a billboard number, wherever. We can create tracking numbers so you can kind of attribute that call to another campaign that you're making. So you want to know when things are working or not working, you want to know that that phone call was produced from actions you're taking or actions you need to be taking, right? How many new leads did you get every month? How is your Google AdWords campaign performing? You should be looking at that at least once a month. And if someone's doing it for you, they should be sharing that information with you because you're paying them to manage it. And Google Ads has an insane amount of metrics. At the very least, show the simple stuff and show that we're constantly improving. Show that our cost per click isn't out of control. Show that our cost per conversion event, a phone call, a form entry, is a reasonable cost per conversion number. Because if you need to get more starts, you need to have an idea how much that's going to cost. And I did an online advertising talk a few days ago that can help explain to you how you can you can connect a certain amount of money to new starts. And you should have an idea of what that is. What is your cost of acquisition? Go over your social media posts, see how they were doing. Because you might do something in social media one month and you didn't think much of it. And it had a huge amount of engagement. If you're not keeping track of that, you're not going to do it. You're not going to know to do it again. Or you might have done something you thought was going to do really well. You spent a ton of money on the campaign and it just went flat and nothing happened. Let's never put Let's never do that again and waste our money on effort and time and energy on that. And then we also like to track new starts, and I like to do it in a simple trend. I highly recommend you do this. There's a lot of great software out there that tracks it, but you want to look at it at a super 50,000 foot level. Like, how many new starts do we have per month? Where did they come from? What was my forecast? What was my goal for this month? Did I reach it? If I didn't reach it, what can we do to make sure we reach it next month? That probably is the single chart. If you're not going to track anything, track that and set a goal and a forecast line so you can see every single month, are you reaching that goal that you set for yourself? Because it really motivates you, and it will definitely motivate whoever is helping you with your marketing if you haven't reached that goal. And the team, if the team knows you haven't reached that goal, you'd be surprised how it has sort of a feedback loop effect. So my last piece of advice is measure what you're doing. That is, everything that you do should be measured so that you can hold yourselves and your team accountable to make sure that we're reaching the goals that we want to reach. All right, so we'll have this talk back on Ortho Thrive, orthossalesengine.com/orthothrive in probably a few hours, like 6 or 7. You'll get the recap email. And if you have any questions, just email me, rguerzon@orthossalesengine.com. And I'd love to just hear from you and answer any questions you have. Oh, let's see. Misty asked, if we can't do it all, what would be the best place to start? Always start with the website. Well, I should say logo website. I'm assuming you have a good logo and it's professional, and a 6th grader didn't make it. So if you have a good logo, start with the website. The website has to be, think of it as your online brochure. When people go to your website, whether you're just giving them a business card, or they found you on Google Ads, or they found you because of a blog, that's their first impression. It's just like meeting someone in real life. If your website isn't looking right, it doesn't have the right content in it, and it's not converting people from traffic to leads, then it's failing you, and all this other activity we're going to do is either not going to work, or we're going to be spending too much money converting. So for instance, let's say you have a really, really bad website, but you have a $5,000 a month Google Ads budget. There's people that do this, by the way. So you're going to say you're spending, $5,000 a month Google Ads budget, and you get $2 per click. So you're sending 2,500 people to that website on your dime. And on that website, 1 out of 1,000 people call you. So what is that, 0.001 or something like that %. So you've already spent the money, and you're getting 2.5 calls a month because your website's so terrible. Does that mean you should spend more money on Google Ads? No. That means you should fix the website, because you already get a good cost per click because your person's doing a good job, while your website's sabotaging everything. So start with the website. So let's assume your website's good. You're fine with that. What is the next thing I would do? Now, I actually wouldn't, if you had to say, where do I start? I would start with Google Ads or Facebook, Instagram ads, because it pushes people. It's actually outbound marketing. The biggest advantage of outbound marketing is that it works instantaneously. As soon as you start that campaign, you're getting traffic, and you keep tweaking it. So you're sending traffic to a site that converts, and you're starting to get leads. Now, if you're already doing that, next is I want to work on search engine optimization. I want the site to now start attracting people from the world to my site that I don't have to pay for. Now, SEO is a longer game. It's not, you generally won't see results for 3 or 6 months. But after you start seeing results and you keep working on it, you're just going to attract more and more and more people without having to pay all that money every month to get them. For instance, one of our clients, we just did a blog for them 6 months ago or so, and it was what the different parts of braces. That one blog is getting over 1,000 visits per month to her site. How exciting is that? That's not, if you're paying $2 per click, it would cost you $2,000 to get 1,000 visits on Google Ads to your site, or this blog does it. Now, they're not as direct, they're national, don't get me wrong, it's not apples to apples, but it shows you the power of SEO. And then next, I would do a full inbound marketing campaign. Start thinking about the content you're creating and build some sort of plan. It doesn't have to be perfect. Don't get hung up on that. Just start doing it and holding yourself accountable. Time block, go into your Google Calendar, whoever's in charge of this hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours a week, I do this. Don't ask me any questions. There's nothing else I'm doing. I'm working on my content strategy and my inbound marketing. Just keep taking iterative steps to get there. I hope that answers your question. Basically, you have to start wherever you're at right then. If you have a great website, you have Google Ads, then you start an SEO. If you have all that, then start your content. If you have a great website but you can't afford to pay for any traffic, then start on the inbound marketing, because that's just your equity and your labor and your effort that's going to get traffic to your site and build an audience. Oh yeah, what if we don't have money? Funds are tight and a lot of practices. Can we just copy info from other pages and blogs? No, don't ever copy info. That's actually can hurt your traffic. What you can do, go to Uber Suggest, go to all and use it because it's a free tool. Find people that you love their content. Put their URL in there and you can see if it's actually getting traffic. And you can see the top blogs. And you can do this you can just do this as long as you want. And build a list of blog ideas. Now you can you can save those links in Excel and reference the blog, but don't ever just copy it. If you want to write a blog about how much Invisalign costs and you found a great blog and you're like, I wish I could just copy this. Don't copy it, write about it, and don't just make it as good as that one, make it better. Put images in it, put video in it, make it longer. There's a lot of ways you can do that. Does anyone else have any questions? Again, I'd be happy to answer anyone's question. You can always schedule a free discovery meeting. It'll be with me and my business partner, Rich Carnahan, and we'll go over your website. We'll talk about what's working for you and what's not. This is all totally free. And the discovery session is not us selling anything, by the way. That's not how you do a discovery meeting. And if people are doing that, they're doing it wrong. So you're going to get a ton of value from it, whether you want us to help you or not. I highly encourage you to give it a shot. I'll give you my honest opinion about whatever you're doing, and then we'll have a follow-up meeting, and I'll just show you step by step what I think you should do to create a winning marketing campaign that's really going to help you get new starts. Feel free to email me anytime. I think that's it. Everyone stay safe out there, and I'll see you on Monday. Take it easy.